I've only been here since 1999. Steve has been here since 1977, which I guess means we've overlapped for only about a third of Steve's career here at Lewis and Clark. But in that time, there are certain things that I've really grown to appreciate about Steve, and I know I speak for my colleagues and also for Steve's students as well in mentioning these. First of all, Steve's always displayed and acted upon a passion to make history relevant, not only to our students here on campus, but also beyond the campus. He's served on multiple occasions as an expert witness dealing with Native American land rights. He's also developed scores of history exhibits around Oregon, ranging from the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center out in the Dalles to the Oregon Historical Society's Oregon, My Oregon exhibit. And this has really shown how, as an historian, you can really move beyond the campus and speak to a wider public. And I think this is one admirable quality that Steve brought to the college and to Oregon and the Northwest. Now, driving these efforts to reach beyond campus and, of course, to reach our students is Steve's obvious and I'd have to say infectious delight in telling stories. And this is what historians do. We tell stories. We tell them to make the past sensible to the present. And Steve has an enviable talent for seeing and then telling the stories found in specific texts and things. A letter, a diary, a statistic even, or even a doorknob, interestingly. I heard that once. Each of those items he taught students and his colleagues has a story waiting to be told. You just have to seek it out. Which brings me to historical materials, which I'm sure we'll hear about several times during the evening. This is our History Methods course, which is required of all of our students and is, in my view, Steve's most important institutional legacy for the history department. Invented by Steve long before I arrived at Lewis and Clark, it's a kind of boot camp, shall we say, for historians, and it's one that our majors are really proud of. I think they wear it as a badge of honor, and it's really created a sense of camaraderie within our department, which I think distinguishes our department. Of course, every department has its pluses, but I think I'm accurate in saying that this particular course gives our majors a really special bond and an identity with our department that is remarkable. And as students will tell you, they come to love this course in proportion to the time that they spend on it, which is considerable. They spend lots and lots of time in the library, searching through sources they never imagined existed until they were looking for them. And it's at this point I actually want to read a letter that was sent to me by email from a former student of Steve's. His name is Andrew Franklin. He graduated from LC in 1998 as a double major in history and biology, and he wanted me to share some words tonight. And I can't read that. It's a very long email, so I'm just going to choose one excerpt from it, which I think gets at the value of this historical materials course. He, by the way, got his PhD in environmental history at the University of Oklahoma and is now an environmental policy researcher. He writes, Dr. Beckham's historical methods course was the best methods course I have ever taken. In historical methods, in historical materials, I learned how to do historical research. Dr. Beckham's mantra that if you imagine a source exists, you can find it, has guided my research since the fall of 1996. Learning how to effectively use reference books, how to read microfilm, the architectural features of a building, and many other topical research skills served me well years later. By combining the intellectual curiosity instilled in our course and the backbreaking excursions to the library for our editing projects, Dr. Beckham prepared me for a career as a professional researcher. And I should add, by the way, the first time I taught the course was pretty backbreaking for me, too. I think it's a rite of passage not only for our students, but for the faculty members as well. The second time was a bit better, I have to say. First time, wow, that was pretty rough. Thank you, Steve. So I wanted to conclude with what I think is actually the most important quality of Steve's, and I think this is why students like Andrew go out of their way to to celebrate him and to contact people like me to read words like that. And that's Steve's concern and utter devotion to his students. And I've really appreciated this over the years. He knows that he's completely committed to them, and I find it's remarkable. There have been a number of occasions where we've been talking about a student, and he'll just say, "Did you know that so-and-so's great-great-grandfather used to work in this town in this part of Oregon?" And I'm thinking, how do you know this? How do you get all this material? And it just shows that he gets to know his students really, really well. And he shows great compassion towards them, great patience. And I actually want to share another email message, this one actually from Steve to me from a few years ago that I think demonstrates this really well. He sent it to me in response to an email I sent to him because I was very, very frustrated with a student who was having a lot of difficulties in my class at the time, and I was sort of at wit's end about what to do, and Steve was the academic advisor for this student at the time. And this is what he wrote back to me. He's quite uncertain about his abilities. And by the way, of course, for privacy's sake, I've taken out certain things and edited. But these are all his exact words. These excerpts are Steve's exact words. He's quite uncertain about his abilities. He can do good work, but he requires nurturing and assistance. When he gains the reassurance, he can thrive. I'm quite willing to help where I can. He can be a bit erratic, but if he is inspired, he can produce good work. He thrives on encouragement and falls into despair about criticism, not unlike many of us. I am certain we can help him over the next weeks to pull things together and get the tasks done that need to be done. This typifies Steve's willingness to acknowledge the humanity of our students and his desire to help them succeed. Thank you, Steve, for your devotion to your students and for encouraging the same level of devotion among your colleagues. For that, I thank you, not only on behalf of the department, but for myself. Thank you.